Hey guys, Thomas with Skeeter Emergency Vehicles. We're here in New London, Wisconsin at the EJ Metals facility, taking a look at their ultra high pressure pump systems. Want to get you a little more familiarized with the product as well as its operation. They've got a variety of flow options available from 6 GPM up to 20, so we've given you examples at both ends of that today. Here we have a 6 GPM unit and that's outputting 2400 PSI, and here's a 20 GPM unit and that's going to be outputting at 1500 PSI. The operation on these units is relatively similar across all of them. The pump panel layout's going to differ a little bit, and as we'll talk about later on another pump, there is a decon option available, but that's only going to be on 8 GPM or higher. We're going to start by going over the operation on the smaller 6 GPM unit. Once we go ahead and fire this unit up, it is going to get relatively loud, so I'll walk you through the whole procedure, and then we'll go ahead and start it up and you can watch that play out. Once you've received the unit, assuming it's been in transport, your fuel is actually going to be cut off. We recommend doing that obviously to avoid flooding the engine in transport. So we're going to move our fuel to the open or the flow position. If necessary, you go ahead and choke the engine at this point. However, because this has already been running and warmed up today, that's not going to be needed. I'm going to verify my throttle is low, and then I'm going to move the selector into the engine start position. You may notice residual water flowing out. That's going to be unloading that pressure so it doesn't build up with the engine while you're trying to start. Once the engine is started, you can go ahead and slightly throttle up, go ahead and close this and put it into HP pump mode, at which point that water should stop. In the meantime, once this is fired up though, that water is going to be coming out under some pressure. We've already got our foam percentage selected. In this case, we're using training foam at 1%, so that's what we have it set to. If you are ready to put foam into the system at whatever point during operation, you want to make sure that this indicator is moved from flush to foam. With foam selected here, you are flowing foam to the line, regardless of what pattern is selected on the gun. With that in mind, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the gun. It is important to note that when demonstrating or training on this, you want to make it point out to people that you need to be having this pointed at the ground. When you're changing the pattern, that allows all the internal components to seat correctly and to properly change the pattern. In order to change that pattern, you're going to grab this knurled collar. You're going to pull it directly back, using your other hand, rotate, and then allow it to snap in and lock on the desired pattern. The patterns are labeled here at the top. We have our spray, our foam, and our stream. For clarification, your stream and your spray, as well as the foam position, are all going to have foam in them. The only thing that's going to differ with that is that the foam position that's called out on the nozzle is going to be the one that gives you the proper aeration and actually gives you a solid application of the foam product. So at this point, we'll go ahead and fire the unit up and you can see this play out. It's also important to note that once you have shut the system down, there is still remaining pressure in the gun, so you want to ensure that the nozzle of the gun, as we call it, is pointed in a safe direction, and then you want to relieve that pressure from the system. Once you've relieved that, then obviously go ahead and dress your hose reel out and you can go ahead and store the unit. We'll go ahead and take a look at the 20 GPM unit operation now. As we go through this, you'll notice a couple of differences. However, it mainly plays out the same as it did on the smaller 6 GPM. On this unit, it is fuel injected, so there's no choke, and I have already verified that our fuel line is open. With that in mind, we're going to go ahead and fire up the engine, making sure that this is in the start position. Once this is running, and we've got water, in this case it'll be coming out below the bottom of the trailer. You won't be able to see it as clearly as you did over here with this, but there will be some residual water coming out from underneath the trailer. Once that's happened, we're going to go ahead and move this to pump mode, and then knowing that our foam is ready, We'll go ahead and move this. In this case, for the demo, I want foam, so I'm going to go ahead and select foam immediately. And then we will pull the line and we'll deploy it out here to the field. Again, just with the larger or with the smaller unit here on the larger unit, you do have remaining pressure between the nozzle and the pump. You need to go ahead and burp the gun or allow the gun to discharge that remaining pressure so that you can store the line safely. All right guys, I brought you over here to talk about the decon options that are available on the 8 GPM and larger pumps from EJ. This one in particular is going to be a 10 GPM pump, so it's running at 1800 PSI. Pump panel layout and operation are going to be the exact same with the exception of the green indicators that you see, and those are going to be for the decon option that's on here. So operating the pump standard in HP pump mode, assuming it's already running, you'll just have your foam selector up here at foam or decon, and then make sure that this selector here is turned down to the decon. That's basically making sure that you're pulling from your detergent agent, whether it's in a cell or a bottle, rather than pulling from your foam cell. You'll go ahead and start purging the system of what foam is left if you've already been using foam. Once the detergent starts coming out, you're good to start a decon operation. You also want to make sure that your foam is turned down to the indicated, in this case, 1.5% for your decon, rather than whatever percentage it might be set at for your foam during fire attack. At this point, you'll also have on your nozzle the indicated foam or spray. These two patterns are going to be what you're wanting to use primarily for decon. In most cases, the spray is very effective for covering gear if you've got equipment laid out on the ground or something like that. When you go to operating with the decon agent, it's important to note that this pump is still capable with decon settings on at running at full PSI. So rather than using that high pressure, we recommend in decon that you're running the pump just at idle. And that's plenty of pressure to pull the decon agent through the line and to clean your gear and your personnel.